What are the rules of golf in a bunker, and can you drop your ball out if you end up in there? Let's go find out. So when we first get in the bunker, there's a few basic rules that we need to know that may be obvious, but not always to beginners and people that are new to the game. The first one is you can't ground your club on the sand. So when we're in the bunker, before we hit a shot, we have to keep our club in the air and we can't make contact with the sand until actually when we hit impact and hit the main shot. This also means you can't have a practice swing in the bunker and hit the sand, because that's classed as testing the conditions and testing what the sand would play like. So actually once you're in here, you can't do a practice swing unless it's above the surface of the ground. So if you want to kind of practice your strike or practice your shot, I'd recommend you do that outside of the bunker before you get in. Now, although you can't physically touch the sand while you're hitting the shot, there's a few ways you can kind of get around this. So you can actually ground your club, say, to lean on it while you're waiting for other people to play the shot, as long as it's not in the direct area around the golf ball where it could be classed as testing the sand. You can also technically come in here and put your whole golf bag down in the sand, pull different clubs out while you pick what you want to use, and that's not against the rules. You just can't ground your club in the near area around the golf ball. Now that also includes the backswing, so if you're taking a stroke and you catch some sand on the way back, that is also against the rules. So basically next time you're in the sand, just make sure you don't touch anything until you've hit the golf ball and it's out on the putting green. While you're here, I'd really appreciate if you could hit that subscribe button. Over 80% of people who watch my videos aren't currently subscribed, and actually having a bigger subscriber number really helps with the opportunities we get to bring great videos back to you. Also, it's loads of graft doing this, so I'd just really appreciate it. So please hit that subscribe button, and while you're there, you might as well give this video a like and drop us a comment about what else you want to see on the channel. Now, this is a rule that crops up quite frequently in a bunker, given we all can't decide where the rake should live, and that's when the golf ball ends up propped up against the rake. Now, luckily for you, the rake is a movable obstruction, so you don't have to hit your shot from here. You can simply just pick the rake up and move it. Now, obviously in a scenario like this, where the ball's on a slope, it's probably not going to stay where it was, and that's fine. What you have to do is pick the ball up and replace it as close as possible to where it was, if the ball will actually stay still there. Now we can see the indentation of where my golf ball was there, so I'm just going to mark that. It probably is good practice to mark it before you move it, but as long as there's a mark and you can see where it was, that's fine, and you don't actually have to mark it. So basically what the rule is here is we have to have 2 attempts at putting it down in that spot without pressing it down into the sand and see if it will stay there or not. If it won't, we basically just move the ball around the areas nearby until we find the closest spot where the ball will stay still. So let's see how we get on with this. Okay, definitely not going to stay there or anywhere around here. So I'm just going to go to this slightly flatter bit of ground behind and hopefully that will work. There we go, that ball's now back in play. You see how much that backspun? Maybe I'll hit it up against the rake all the time. So what happens if there's loose impediments around your golf ball in the bunker? Well, this rule has changed not so long ago, and it now means that all natural items in the bunker are classed as loose impediments, and you can simply move them away from your golf ball. Now, this is providing one thing, and that is that they're not under your golf ball or blocking your golf ball in a way that when you pick them up, your ball is going to move. So in a scenario like this, you can simply just pick these stones, leaves up and move them out of the way. But if they were propping your ball up or underneath your ball and moving them would cause your golf ball to move, you have to leave them where they are, and it's just tough luck. Now, if you do move a leaf or a rock and it moves your golf ball, that is a 1-shot penalty, providing you put the golf ball back where it should have been. If it moves and you then play it from your new shot, it's classed as a more severe breach of the rules, so that gets you the general penalty, which is 2 shots. So next time you're in a bunker, feel free to move these loose impediments, but just make sure they don't move your golf ball in the process. Can you get free relief if your ball is embedded in a bunker? Well, it depends exactly where it is. In this scenario where the ball is simply just plugged in the sand within the bunker, unfortunately, it's just tough luck and you're going to have to play this one as it lies. Now in this scenario, the lie is not too bad and the bunker face isn't too steep, so I do feel like I could get to that golf ball and hit it and have a decent chance of getting it out. But in some scenarios, especially if we get on links courses and the faces are really deep, it's just going to be impossible to get an embedded golf ball out. And this is where knowing another rule can really help you out. Now, what most people don't realise or forget is that you can still take an unplayable drop in a bunker. So if you ever get in this scenario and you just think there's no way I'm going to get this out, it's really simple to just take a drop away and give yourself an easier shot. So in this scenario, you've got two options where you can take a one-shot unplayable drop. The first one is to mark a reference point just behind the golf ball, and from there you get one club length on each side. This is up to the length of a driver. You can't use a putter if it's longer than your driver, but you are allowed to use any club you just have with you. You're also allowed to put your club down on the sand in this scenario, so don't worry about a penalty shot for that. So a club length each side, and then you actually get the full arc of that distance at both sides of the golf ball. So in this scenario, we simply pick this up and drop from knee height, making sure we stay in that arc. Now, because that's rolled out, we're going to have to drop it again. If it rolls out a second time, we're then going to place it. I think we're all good with that one. Now, if this was a really steep bunker and you're thinking, I'm still too near, I'm not going to get out, you also have the option to drop back in line. So you can take the point of where your golf ball is and the pin and just go backwards, providing you stay in the bunker. So if we mark the spot where my golf ball is, take that line and the pin and just walk straight back. We can keep going as far back as we want, as long as we're still in the bunker, and drop when we get to a place we're happy with. From there, the ball's back in play, and hopefully we can hit the shot on the green. Although I've got a bit more sand to carry now. Now, if neither of those scenarios are an option, or you just think this is a terrible bunker, or I'm just really not good at bunkers, I don't want to hit my shot from here, you are actually allowed to drop out of the bunker. Now, this is under a penalty of 2 shots, but it means you can do the same thing, and that's take a drop back on line with the ball and the pin, but you can go all the way out of the bunker. I do think in some scenarios, especially for golfers who aren't comfortable hitting out of the bunker, taking this option is a really good idea, because you could take 3, 4, 5 shots out of a really difficult bunker, and what's the point in doing that when you could simply just drop out and then either chip over it or chip around it? So there are a few options for what you can do if your ball's embedded in the sand, or if you just have a shot you really don't fancy. Now, there is one time you can get free embedded ball relief, which is kind of in the bunker, and that's if it's in the bunker face. Now, you can see at this point, this ball is in the turf, not in the actual sand. So we can see it's in the darker soil, and that's classed as the general area rather than being in a bunker. Because of that, and because the fact this is embedded in there, you're actually allowed free relief. So you can go ahead and drop this without penalty. Now, the rule for this is you have to take a reference point right behind the golf ball, and then from there, again, you've got your 1 club length. Now, this can obviously get tricky on slopes and also when you're around the green, because you can't be any nearer the hole. So in this example, we're going to have to go on an angle probably this way to make sure we're further back from the pin. So if I can get to my golf ball, I'm going to measure my 1 club length, make sure I'm no nearer the hole. Now, we can clearly see this is going to be an issue, because as soon as I drop this, it's going to run back into the bunker. You do again have to do 2 drops and then place it on the spot where it last landed if it won't stay still. If it won't stay still on that spot, you just need to find the nearest point around there where the golf ball will stay still, but making sure you're not going nearer the hole. Okay, so that last drop landed there. Now the fun starts. I'm basically just testing different areas to see if the ball's going to stop or not. That is probably the nearest place. I'm going to get it to stay still. And now I've got the fun of hitting off this big slope, but actually it's definitely better than being plugged in that face. Actually pretty good. Definitely keep dropping from there.